Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is February the 15th. 2019, which is also known as Adam Meister's lucky day. This really is my lucky day. Some great things, interesting things have happened to me in the past when I valued my wealth in something else. Long-term thinking, strong hand, unconfiscatable. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. Okay, you're at the home of no fancy sets or graphics. We've got 3 guests from all over the place here. Tawanda Kembo is, of course, in Zimbabwe. And we got Ed. He's on the East Coast somewhere. And introducing J. Lee Porter, Jeff, Shrugged Author, whatever you want to call them. They're all linked to below. They are here in the house. So we're going to start off. We got to talk about all the big stories that happened this week in Bitcoin and, or in cryptocurrency. And one of them that I know everyone's talking about, and it's blown out of proportion for various reasons. It is what it is the JPMorgan creating their own stablecoin story. It basically came out yesterday. And I want to hear what the panel thinks of that. We're going to start with Ed.
I agree and disagree with a lot of the sentiment I've been seeing online. A lot of people aren't big fans of the coin itself. And the criticisms are legit. This is going to be an internal permissioned blockchain, and it's going to be only available to their institutional investors. So it's really not part of the broader crypto space, the crypto ecosystem that we're all familiar with. But I think this is huge because mass adoption for crypto isn't going to come until people have a good enough understanding or confidence in the technology. And let's face it, for most of the no-coiners in the world, they'll never get enough understanding. They're not going to do their own research and learn about it. But what they are going to do is hear that this huge banking company, which is, it has been bashing, Diamond's been bashing Bitcoin for years until he started walking it back last year. This huge company that's been bashing the biggest thing in crypto is now no longer bashing, and they're launching their own. So this is, I believe, a huge confidence builder in the underlying technology. It tells people, yes, this shit is for real. And it's okay to get invested in it. It's okay to participate in it. It's okay to put a wallet on your phone and use cryptos. Now, we can't get JPMorgan coin. We can't get this thing because it's only for their big institutionals. But when people are more comfortable using the regular technology because they now understand that it's a legitimate kind of technology, that it's trustable, then they can use the trustless version that we're trying to bring into the world outside of the financial space, the traditional financial space. I think it's huge.
Do you think it's a threat to Ripple? Some Ripple people weren't too happy about it.
Absolutely.
Is it going? Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely a threat to Ripple because this was, let's face it, this was their big angle. We're selling to banks so they could do, cross-border settlement instantaneously. Well, that's a feature of blockchain. That's not a feature of Ripple. They were trying to bring this technology into a different space. Now they aren't actually using the same kind of blockchain. They're using a whole different kind of consensus. So it's a different model than most cryptos. It's not like what JPM's doing. They're doing something that's based on Ethereum, which is a true blockchain. But the real point is their valuation. I mean, people invest in their coin because they think they're investing in Ripple when they're really not. So we know that's nonsense. But JPMorgan is really going to eat their lunch when it comes to trying to establish settlement networks between the big banks. Who's got more reputation with other big banks, JPMorgan or Ripple? I would not be surprised if over the coming weeks we see the overall market cap in cryptos go down significantly because of XRP going down, even if no other coins are seriously affected. I don't think Bitcoin is going to be touched in a negative way by this. I think Bitcoin should go up because people have more trust in blockchain. But I can easily see XRP going down, and XRP is one of the top coins, so it's going to impact overall market cap.
An interesting point about the Ripple and if it goes down, it could get people worried if they saw the whole market cap of crypto go down because Ripple is Ripple. But Jeff, you might have some thoughts about this JPMorgan intranet or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, I think Ed nailed all the points there very well. But yeah, it seems to me like the early days when I was in IT, where the companies are working on an intranet, and people learn that technology. They learn the TCP/IP. They start making intranet web pages, and next thing you know, they just connect to the internet, and it helps move that along. And if they start doing internal stuff on a blockchain, how many more blockchain programmers are getting a free education from JPMorgan, and they get to move on, and it grows the space. Even, who cares how they do their internal accounting and moving money? It doesn't really affect Bitcoin in any way. I don't see this as any kind of competition. But it brings more people to the fold. And like Ed said, more people get used to it, and they hear about it, and they go, wow, there's really something here with the technology in general. So it's good.
Yeah, it's a big news story, and on the positive side, it's free marketing for cryptocurrency, and it's not a threat to Bitcoin, although there are some FUD articles there. Well, here, we're talking about JPMorgan. It's a big player here not in the Western world, whatever you want to say. Now, Tawanda is over in Zimbabwe. Now, he hasn't heard much about this JPMorgan coin, and maybe you'll have some thoughts now, Tawanda. I don't know. You're not looking to list JPMorgan coin on Golix. Tawanda's in charge of the largest or the only exchange, Bitcoin exchange in Zimbabwe. You've had to deal with some issues in Zimbabwe lately. While we're talking about JPMorgan coin, they turned off the internet in Zimbabwe recently. So tell us what's going on and your thoughts on JPMorgan coin if you want to, but what's going on in Zimbabwe politically, Bitcoin wise, anything you want to say. You're our special guest.
Thank you. About what's been going on in Zimbabwe, I've been saying this for a long time, that I don't need a girlfriend because the government screws me every day. And it's true, but on a more serious note, so I didn't hear much about the JPMorgan coin, but it kind of speaks to something that I've noticed a while. I think it's because of my background and me growing up in Zimbabwe, where we've had real money problems for a long time. We've had real money problems for decades, and so for me it was easy to see that the real innovation in Bitcoin is the currency aspect. So the currency aspect is the biggest innovation you can use right now, and we see this with all the institutions. So first of all, they dismiss this whole technology as a scam, as something that will never work, and then suddenly they say, we're more interested in the blockchain technology. We don't care about cryptocurrency. We care about blockchain. That's the part they usually take, and then they experiment with it for a while. But they'll eventually realize, like JPMorgan is realizing, that the currency aspect is the biggest innovation, and it's the one you can use today. So it's the one you can use in production today to solve real problems today. And I guess we've kind of seen JPMorgan kind of take a similar path as well. It's but I do agree with the thoughts other panelists have mentioned. The biggest one especially is it brings more developers to blockchain, and this helps the ecosystem. Another way of looking at it is that they also experiment with other things which may work in Bitcoin. So whatever works for the JPMorgan coin is eventually going to find itself on the Bitcoin code base, and it's going to help the ecosystem in general. So I think it's a good thing that they are now experimenting with cryptocurrency, especially the money aspects of the technology.
Okay, so what's up with the internet being turned off in Zimbabwe?
So I guess the problems in Zimbabwe really started back in 2008, 2009, when with the worst inflation the world has ever seen. I was in college around the time, and I remember walking in a bar. I go to the counter and I buy a 6-pack of beers, and the reason I bought a 6-pack in a bar is because every time I would have gone to the counter to buy another beer after finishing one, the price would have gone up. So that's how crazy inflation was. The prices were going up multiple times every day. It went so crazy. The government just stopped printing its own money. Like the government couldn't manage money anymore. They couldn't manage inflation. We switched to the US dollar. But the government didn't change their habits. So they continued printing money, printing US dollars, and the way they did it was they would just add zeros to their bank accounts when it's time to pay civil servants at the end of the month, or buy new cars for members of parliament and ministers, etc. So government has been spending more than it has. Got to a situation where a few years ago, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, where there was a lot of money in the banks, but just no actual cash to back up that money. So you couldn't. It was around the time you're in Zimbabwe, right, Adam? When we spent a long time in a queue at a bank trying to get some cash, but you couldn't get cash anywhere, and so we've read this thing where you've got if you've got $100 in your bank account, you'll pay someone $400 to give you cash. So it's still the US dollar, but it's got different exchange rates depending on whether it's in a bank account or it's cash, because you can't really take money out. So government has put price controls on a lot of stuff. So for example, gas for your car, you guys call it gas, we call it fuel in this part of the world. So that gas for your car, it's like you're buying it at a fraction of what it's really worth, because the fuel companies can't get cash to import it. So government is kind of subsidizing, but the government has run out of cash. So there were massive protests now. They tried to hike the price of fuel to kind of like control the shortages, because the queues were now, you'd spend days. So we're spending days queuing for gas, to put gas in your car. And most of the cars in the queue, you'd have to push them to get to the filling station because they would run out of fuel. And like we had queues that were kilometers long. So it went so crazy. The government thought the only solution was to hike the prices to get rid of the queues. It's amazing how I don't know who gives them advice or how they come up with these solutions. So what happened was there were massive protests. There was a lot of police brutality, soldiers in the streets harassing people, people getting shot by soldiers, and to kind of control that, to control the image in social media and in the international news, they decided to shut down the whole internet in the whole country. It was a disaster. Like especially for people like myself that run an internet-based business, it was a disaster. We couldn't get online for a few days.
Well, I mean, that's huge. You couldn't do your business, and then people couldn't buy Bitcoin either.
So the internet shut down just when I was about to do a Bitcoin transaction to sell some Bitcoin, and then it shut down. And so, like, we didn't really know, like, did the transaction go through? Did it not? It was. It took us a few days to find out if it really went through.
There's a good application for the satellite Bitcoin transactions.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been a time to. Well, luckily they got their internet back now, and they don't have to worry about doing satellite. Well, maybe they should worry about for the moment. You should prepare, Tawanda. You should get in touch with the satellite, whatever it is, the Blockstream satellite or whatever, and the mesh networks and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm sure you got a plan. But going back, so how many days was the internet off for?
It was off for 3 days. So, and then the next day it came back. It was it came back for half the day. And then for another couple of days, we didn't have social media, so you couldn't do WhatsApp or Facebook, etc. So you'd have to install a VPN and to just get onto social media, and it's back up because someone challenged the government in court and won, and so.
Good. I'm glad that side of the government is okay. That the judges know that it's completely illegal to shut down the internet on everyone in a country of millions of people. Now, what I want to remind everyone that this is under a new Robert Mugabe's government has been gone since 2017 now. So this is, Tawanda was telling stories from 2008, and this was under one government. Now we got this new government here, and it doesn't. You've got lines for gas. You've got. I mean, it's still about government interference, and government interference is gonna take things in a bad direction. Whatever they do, if they print money, if they control the price of gas, if they turn off the internet, it's gonna cause problems. Now, it is unfortunate, and I'm very happy that the world gets to hear Tawanda here, because we've heard about fuel protest in France and the yellow vest. Well, this is the same thing that's going on there, except people are getting shot in Zimbabwe, which is the situation in Zimbabwe is much worse than in France, but we really haven't heard about this. And again, you're not a country that produces oil, so we don't hear about it for that reason either. And I think a lot of people were satisfied in the Western world. Well, if Mugabe's gone, everything must be fine. So if something happens there, who knows what's going on? And they turned off the internet, so you guys couldn't tell the world either. So
I'd love to ask Tawanda a question. So I'm on the one hand sorry to hear that the police are shooting people in the streets because people are protesting because they can't get fuel to live their lives. On the other hand, I'm thrilled to hear that the judges have reversed the government's decision to close the internet. So I'm dying to ask someone this question, and you're in a place to answer. Do you feel that the judges reversed the government order on internet because there's a newfound respect for the rule of law and that they're creating checks and balances in Zimbabwe? Or is it just a matter of, well, the judges and their families really felt badly because they couldn't get on the internet and they wanted to restore what they wanted for themselves?
So first of all, I'll be honest. It would be a hard question for me to answer because I'm actually living in Zimbabwe, so I have to pick my words very carefully.
I apologize. I realize what I've done.
Well, I think that says a lot there, right there, people. This is a very serious thing. When I had the guys on from Venezuela, this is an ongoing situation right now in Zimbabwe. It is amazing, and I'm glad we can see and hear Tawanda now. So hopefully things will improve. What do you foresee this situation bringing on in terms of crypto interest? Have you gotten a lot more hits on your sites lately? Let's tie this into Bitcoin somehow.
So regarding in Zimbabwe, and I don't know if I told you this before, Adam, but we haven't been we've blocked trading operations in Zimbabwe since around July last year because of regulatory problems. So we got to just give you the bigger picture, we got banned by the central bank. We challenged them in court. We won in court, but still we can't get a bank account. So even though we won in court, like the victory didn't mean anything, we still can't get a bank account until today. So it really hasn't had any effect. But we've seen a couple of decentralized crypto exchanges come up, and both are doing very well and actually growing. So it gets me thinking, like when you look at all these problems in Zimbabwe, to me it's really clear that technology is a good solution for all these problems. It's the reason the internet was shut down. Because social media like gives everyone a voice. It allows people to organize protests if they are being treated unfairly. It allows people to let the world know what's really happening, because you can easily share photos and videos and things like that. And so I think technology does solve all these problems. Today we've got cryptocurrency solving money problems today. People are still using cryptocurrency to do international payments, cross-border payments, although it's now just a little harder to get your hands on cryptocurrency because colleagues hasn't opened up to Zimbabweans for a few months now. But in the future, it's going to be things like synthetic biology, where people creating their own petrol and diesel in their homes. So I think technology is going to continue to be a good solution to all these problems.
Okay, well, I really hope that Golex can open again. You mentioned they're decentralized. Do you mean BISC? That's a decentralized. That's a decentralized exchange. I don't know if you've heard about that one yet. That's worldwide. But I agree that technology it'll help push things along, and decentralized technologies hopefully can get around central governments and push them in the correct direction. I want to ask you real quick, Tawanda, are you going to go to the any of the Bitcoin conferences in South Africa that are coming up in February? And well, there's one in Johannesburg, and then there's the one in Cape Town. And the reason I ask is because I don't know if you heard, but the premier of the Western Cape, the lady that's in charge of the Western Cape, is speaking at a Bitcoin at the Bitcoin conference in Cape Town in March. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I did. So I was actually talking to Sonia earlier today. We exchanged some emails, but I'm not going to be able to make it there, unfortunately. So I can't travel for a few weeks. I'm trying to get a visa to go somewhere, so I had to submit my documents and stuff. So I can't travel for a few weeks. So I'm going to have to miss that conference. Are you going to be there? I know we met there last year.
No. But I'm not going to be there. But I thought I want to know your thoughts. I mean, the premier of the Western, is that a big deal? Do you think South Africa's going in the right direction? I mean, that's very interesting that their premier is speaking there.
I think it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So one thing the South African government gets, which a lot of governments, like including the Zimbabwean government, doesn't get now, is governments who are competing with other governments, especially in the technology space. So in places like South Africa, they've made it real easy for a foreigner there to set up a business. If you're someone with skills, particularly in technology, to relocate to South Africa, they've made it a lot easier. And they've got a regulatory framework which makes it easy to start a cryptocurrency business in South Africa. So the government is very supportive as well, very competitive. And the citizens in South Africa are going to benefit a lot in the long term for the positions their government is taking now. So I think it's a very big deal, and it's a good thing. It's something a lot of governments can learn from.
All right. Well, everybody out there, I don't think I've said it yet. Pound that like button for Southern Africa. Hopefully, Zimbabwe can get a little bit more cool with Bitcoin, like South Africa seems to be doing. We'll get back to Tawanda in a second. Let us move on. Unless Nomad, did you have any questions? Crypto Shrugged Arthur.
Pounding the like button.
Crypto Shrugged Author.
We got two nomads on this.
Yeah, we got two nomads. Crypto Shrugged Author is also known as J. Lee Porter. He's known as Jeff. Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any questions for Tawanda?
No, I'm just fascinated by I hadn't heard any of this stuff, and it makes me feel out of the loop.
Yeah, so you hadn't heard about the Zimbabwe?
No, it's amazing.
The people are getting shot up. All right. Now, so J. Lee Porter actually travels all around the world. He's got a book, and we'll talk about it in a second. But I want to ask him. He travels around like I do, but he's a little different than me. I'm really proud to have him on the show today. Jeff is the tallest man in all of cryptocurrency. He is 7'3". I mean, it is. I mean, I'm serious. This is no joke, people. This is unbelievable.
I hope someone finds someone taller, and then I'll have to get a new.
I looked up the statistics, and like once you get to 7'3", there's like very few human beings that are even that tall currently. Yeah. So I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. But let me ask you your opinion, and I don't know if you even heard about this here. That Coinbase has they've created a cloud storage for your private key. If you for some reason are storing your Bitcoin on Coinbase, they can put your private key in the cloud.
Yeah, my understanding is, I just read the headline on it, but I mean, they encrypt it and then you're storing it in your. Yeah, I mean, if you understand, if you have the level of technology you know, if you're good with technology enough to make a paper wallet or use a hardware wallet, that's great. But there's got to be a heck of a lot of people on Coinbase that have $20, $50, $100, you know, and it's one more way to back up their key. And it's like Andreas Antonopoulos talks about, you got $20 worth of Bitcoin, you put $20 worth of effort into securing it, you know. Yeah. Not everyone can say, you know, hey, look, there was a time, you know, $20 you could buy a Bitcoin, and now it's, you know, what, $3,500 or something. But you know what's going to happen is, you know, people buy $20, $100 because someone at work told them to, and they'll 5 years from now read an article about Bitcoin hitting, you know, $1 million, and they'll go, oh wait, what was that site I was on? Let me go back and see if it's still there. And I mean, look, there's always better ways to do it, but for most people on Coinbase that just have, you know, $100 or $200 on there, and they don't want to put any effort into it, why not?
Yeah, that is about $20 worth of security, or maybe 20 cents worth, maybe 20 cents worth of security.
How many people right now, like, you know, have Google Drive and they have text files on their computers with their keys or with their passwords, and that stuff synced up? At least this is encrypted. I mean, you know, general security practices for people are horrible. Yeah. You know,
okay, you're speaking as a rationalist here. I mean, you're looking on the bright side of things. Was when I hear about it, I'm like, this is setting a bad example, you know. But it's well, put it in the cloud. The cloud is safe. The cloud is not safe.
Yeah, but they're trying to get you to keep your Bitcoin with them. Yeah. So that they can make the money on the trades and everything. That's their business. You know,
I think,
you know, it's not the best way to do it. I mean, you know, store it on a hardware wallet or a paper wallet, put it in a safe and forget about it. And then 5 years from now, figure out how to take 100 different fork chains off your paper wallet, you know?
Heck yeah.
I mean, that's...
Ed. You're absolutely right. I would love to think better of Coinbase and say, yeah, they're doing this completely altruistically because they want to protect their customers. And there's a degree of that. But also the cynic in me is thinking, you know, a part of this is they want to avoid the customer support nightmares that would happen in the future when people try to make claims on these coins and they no longer have an account, or the account had to be closed because of regulations, or maybe Coinbase went under and now there's a custodian who owns Coinbase's funds and they don't want to address all of these individuals. So they say, well, we gave you your keys. They're in your private cloud. You deal with it. I don't know. Maybe some of it's that. But I'm with our host, the Meister, on this. It's just moving one risk to a different kind of risk. You know, how many individuals get their Gmail account hacked? And if you've done that, is your Google Drive safe? And are your crypto keys on your Google Drive? Have they really protected you? When I worry about, you know, Uncle Joe, who's not tech savvy, I would rather him just maintain a Coinbase account than try to have a copy of his private keys anywhere.
Well, I got to say one thing. People don't put your private keys on your Google Drive. Please don't just get the Trezor at that point. I want to thank Ken Bozak for the $4.20 in the super chat. Strongest hand in Bitcoin. How goes it, bro? Whoa, Ken, it's always good to see you here, man.
Hey, Ken, tell Ken to, hey, Ken, check your direct messages on Twitter. I've been trying to send you a copy of the book, buddy.
Too much $4.20 for Ken there, apparently. And it appears. All right, I want to wait. Since we're talking about Coinbase, I want to ask Ed a real quick question and bring up something. There was Coinbase said today that people who had their Bcash there are now getting their BSV delivered to them, which is great, I guess. That's great. I mean, whatever. They didn't steal the BSV. But Ed, they still haven't given people the Bgold yet.
No,
do you know any update? Because people ask me about this.
They don't say anything to us that they don't say publicly. They have the fear of God in them ever since that horribly botched Bitcoin Cash debut on their markets. So that's a huge piece of it. We're trying to work with them. We're trying to get full on listed. You know, it's an uphill battle to get listed with Coinbase. But things have opened up, and it's more likely to open in the future. We have good reason to think that we're making progress on that. But as far as delivering the Bitcoin Gold that they hold, which belongs to all these other people, you know, it's almost indefensible for them to continue not to disperse Bitcoin Gold to people while already starting to put out the Bitcoin SV. And the only reason I can think of that you can use to rationalize that is that they intend to list it. You know, that's the only way I'd excuse this behavior. If they intend to list it, if they're going to list it sometime soon, and then people can withdraw or trade, okay, that's fine. But if they have no intention of listing and they're not, you know, answering questions to us and they're not dispersing the coin, I think they're setting themselves up for a lawsuit.
Yeah, well, I've been saying that for quite some time, and there was someone that actually contacted me once that wanted to sue them because of that. And you said they have the fear of God. I don't know because this BSV wasn't immediate. It's been 2 months now since they could have distributed it. So it's not, obviously it's not as bad as the Bgold situation, which is what now 1.5 years basically of not. But I would also, I'm on your same line of thinking. I think they're going to list Bgold eventually. They put out those teasers of all the ones they might list, and that was one of them. And it would make the most sense because they can just give that out to everybody, and it'd be a big fiesta over there because everybody loves to get free coins, even though they're not. Those were their coins. But people still think, oh, it's free. I got them for free, even though I should have already got them. So yeah, and Ed is obviously he's with the Bgold side of things, and we'll talk more about that. Was there anything else you wanted to say about that, Ed? Sorry, I cut you off a little bit.
No, that kind of covers it. I mean, the only other thing I would mention is Coinbase is an institution. You know, I know they're on the crypto side, but they are an institution. So they might have more respect for new coins like Bitcoin Cash that are backed by institutions. You know, mining corporation and large names who have funding and backing. So that gives them a confidence. Bitcoin Gold was a nonprofit startup. We didn't take an ICO and get investment. We didn't have some big mining company backing us. So they could legitimately say, well, we don't know if this thing's going to be around. Well, it's 1.5 years now. We're still around. Our tech is doing better than ever. We're continuing to grow. They don't need to have that kind of concern anymore. So there's no good reason not to list us.
All right, Tawanda, do you have any thoughts about what we've been talking about storing private keys in the cloud? I'm sure you don't do that. So any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more you do realize that there are still a bunch of people, and as cryptocurrency goes more mainstream, there are going to be a lot more people that are not tech savvy enough to be able to store their private keys securely. And so I see a real big use case for hardware wallets such as Trezor, Ledger, and stuff. So I see big use cases for wallets such as those. But yeah, I think there are always going to be people that cannot secure their own keys. And they're to be honest, they'll be better off storing their crypto on a place like Coinbase, because if they were to do it themselves, they would likely lose it. So I see some real use cases for these hardware wallets. It's the most secure way to store your cryptocurrency.
Well, you know, it's funny. You're right. There's some on the other side of the spectrum. Andreas Antonopoulos and I talked about this before. He talked about how some people ask him about all these complex ways of storing your crypto, the ones that Trace Mayer has talked about, and people start worrying. Well, I'm not doing it like Trace Mayer is doing it. But if you don't understand the technology, and you try to do something you don't understand, you're going to make a mistake, and it's better to stick with the technology that you understand. And I think a good base level is the hardware wallet technology. I think that's something that a lot of people can understand. There are going to be some people that are just going to be that don't need a third party to do it for them. They don't need a Bitcoin bank. And Coinbase is well on their way to becoming a Bitcoin bank. I mean, it's clearly part of their plan. Okay. Moving on, I want to talk about some, we're jumping from Zimbabwe back to the USA. I want to say pound that like button. Let's talk about J. Lee Porter's book and your whole lifestyle, Jeff.
Well, I decided to take a sabbatical about 3 years ago from my job and travel to Guatemala and lose a little weight and, just kind of one of those midlife crisis things. And I had bought some cryptocurrencies, and they started doing pretty good about 3 years ago. And I said, well, if I'm better off than I was a month ago at the end of the month, why don't I just travel for another month? And it's been 3 years now. And, I don't have the programming skills I once did. And I tried to get into doing some, looking at the cryptocurrency code and stuff. And I'm like, man, it's a little out of my league now. And I kept thinking about, my co-author, Ed Teja, has been a nomad his entire life. He grew up moving all around Asia and even lived in Venezuela and all over. And talking with him, and we'd talk about, like, how are these different countries? Are they going to come out with their own coins? Are the banks? Is it going to be the countries versus the banks? And then and he's a huge fan of Atlas Shrugged and Ayn Rand. And I am too. And we decided to write basically a modern version of Atlas Shrugged, where the heroes aren't the industrialists so much as they are the programmers that work at the central banks, that work at the major banks. So basically like the JPMorgan coin, that type of, those programmers that are in there. But then a lot of them have a libertarian leaning. They like to travel around the world. They can work from anywhere due to the nature of their work. And they're kind of undermine the central banks and governments when they try to put in control systems in the money. Using money as a form of control is kind of the evil socialist aspect of, like from Ayn Rand or from Atlas Shrugged, you have kind of the creeping socialism. And in this, it's kind of the creeping of using money as control. So the heroes of the books are digital nomad programmers. And the first book is Crypto Shrugged, and it deals more with a corrupt government and that's creating a cryptocurrency. And the second book will be out in a month, and that's called Crypto Citizens, and that's more about smart cities. So that's kind of the main focus on that.
Wow, I didn't know about the second book coming out here.
Yes.
Now it's his Twitter's linked below.
You're the first to know.
Wow,
no, I'm sure it's on Twitter.
We're debuting it here. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's his Twitter's linked below. So follow him, and also where you can buy the book. Your main website I linked to below.
Oh, it's also cryptoshrug.com.
Yeah. It's down there, or one of your websites is down there. They're all connected. Yeah. They all go to the same. If you want the book, check out the links below. And people have seen me hold up the book before. I don't have the book with me here in Israel because it's in Baltimore, but people have seen it before. I still haven't. No spoiler alert here or anything. I got to read the thing. But there was a lot was going on last time I was in Baltimore, so I couldn't read the book. But this is awesome. And so you're trapped. Like me, you travel all around, and that's you don't have a home.
There's a couple great advantages for people, especially people that are into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. One is the cost of living. For us from the United States, the cost of living in Central and South America is much less. So when you don't have an income anymore and you're just sitting on your investment. So the cost of living's cheaper, and also for Americans, for United States citizens, if you are out of the country for it's like 11 months out of the year, you'd have to look it up, 336 days. If you're in a foreign country, you get a foreign earned income tax exemption. And and if you take the time and write some cryptocurrency fiction, then you get a tax write-off for the travels to research the locations.
Oh, look at this! This is good. Hey, man, you're in motion.
You got to be legal. No,
You're a legit researcher now.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Yeah.
This is good. You are truly in motion, and I'm glad we finally got you on the show. Because you were supposed to be on that one show that got canceled in November.
Yeah.
So good. Very, very good to have you here. And everybody check out the links below for all of these guys, every one of these dudes. Okay, now let's move on to if Ed or any or Tawanda, if you had questions for Jeff, please. now's the time. But if not, let's a Bgold update. I know people are, why are you talking about altcoins? Well, there's a Bgold guy on the show. Let him talk about his altcoin. Go ahead, Ed.
All right. Well, one thing we're doing is within the next couple of weeks, possibly as early as a week or two from now, we'll be rolling out the new version of our core wallet. We based our original off of Bitcoin's core wallet, the .15 version. We're now based off of the .17 version. So we're going to be doing a big push to get everybody to upgrade their full nodes. Partly because it's always good to have more full nodes, but also because last time I looked, there were close to 20 people still running 15.0.1 and .0.2, which are really old versions and are from before the fork last summer when we changed our hashing algorithm from Equihash to the 144.5 version of Equihash. So those people haven't seen a block go through their nodes since July of 2018, but they're still up and running. People need to upgrade their nodes to keep things working and be contributing to the network. In line with that, we've also got some new technology rolling out within it. We finally enabled compact blocks, which is necessary to help support mobile wallets. We've also got a BTGD, which is our port of BTCD, which is an important underlier for technologies like Neutrino. So that's all coming together, and that's all part and parcel of getting Lightning Network on mainnet, but also enabling it for mobile wallets. So that's all coming together. I know a lot of people are frustrated that we're not, deploying Lightning Network immediately, but those of us in the technology space realize you can, port a little bit of a code and do a test and say you have Lightning Network, but there's no network. If there's no network, if you haven't made it easier for people to get online and transfer into Lightning and start transferring within Lightning, there's no network, there's no Lightning Network. We're working on the core parts of the infrastructure so that we can start providing the same services. And we're leaning heavily on all the things that have been built by other parties. Lightning Labs and others have done fabulous work. We're working on integrating that into our ecosystem, and then our developers can hopefully begin to contribute back to the systems. We've already contributed back to the Bitcoin ecosystem code-wise, and we hope to be able to do the same in the Lightning Network side of things. Later this year, we're going to be working on plasma side chains for Bitcoin Gold. A lot of people have been asking when we're going to have some sort of smart contract solution, and our lead dev has been looking for years on how best to integrate them. And our final conclusion was, rather than try to change the main chain and bring new technology into main chain, which is always a risk, we are going to work on implementing Plasma, which lets us put up side chains, and the smart contracts can be in the side chains. We think that's a more extensible solution. We think it's a safer solution. That's the direction we'll be working on later this year once we got Lightning Network taking off, once we're making sure that all the core infrastructure is in place.
Okay, I have a marketing advice for Bgold.
Make
a Bgold halving clock page to get the countdown, because Litecoin has they have a countdown to their halving page. Bitcoin has a few of them. You can see how soon the Bitcoin halving is. So you have a Bgold halving page.
Have a little excitement around it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
It's roughly the same time span as Bitcoin because, we had the same block time and we forked off the same chain, but it's not the same. And people would be interested to see who's running ahead and behind. You're absolutely right.
It's a little bit, it should be a little bit before, right? It'll be a little bit before the Bitcoin.
It should be before, because when we first forked and created Bitcoin Gold, there was a mining period of 8,000 blocks over the course of a day to establish the endowment that funds everything we've been doing. So we're 8,000 blocks ahead as of the fork itself. And we lost about 2-3 weeks of time between the copy of the Bitcoin chain and the launch of our chain. So we forked on October 25th and we launched on November 12th. So we lost a couple weeks, but we bolted in 8,000 blocks to collect 100,000 BTG endowment. And the majority of the endowment is still there. We've got a public transparency page where you could see the balances in all of the endowment wallets and the total endowment balance, and it's still well north of 60,000. I think we're close to 70,000 BTG still in there. We've been being really careful with the endowment, especially during crypto winter. A lot of organizations have been closing their doors and folding up business in November, December, and January because of the long winter. We went on an austerity program back in August of last year. We cut back non-essential staff, all of our staff took a big hit on salaries. We've reduced their expenses. So we're doing everything we can to preserve things so that we survive the winter so we could keep providing. But that should also give people a measure of confidence. You know, we're being careful. We're making sure we stay alive. We're making sure we have funds to continue operating in years in the future. That's part of why we have the growing reputation that we have and why more places are listing us.
Well, I always like to hear about austerity. You know, I'm not a big spender. I like saving and cutting down and living a minimalistic lifestyle. I like when a business or a government gets minimalistic. Now, on that same note, we're going to have a lightning round here. Or we're to, there's been talk about coin burns, burning coins. Be Private is burning some of their coins for various reasons. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? On if that's going to be a trend in the future of altcoins, just getting rid of coins, just you know, especially if they were forks, you know, getting rid of Satoshi's coins.
Nobody else wants to talk. I will.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Simply put, I think there are two kinds of coin burns. One is just the gross PR stunt where someone, you know, they misestimated and their inflation rate is too high, or they're trying to rationalize the value of their coins, so they're intentionally burning them. And we've seen that in the past with Bitcoin Cash. I think that's no value to the ecosystem. And the other kind is what Be Private is doing. You know, they're burning coins because they discovered a flaw and they don't know how much is out there and who's got it and who stole it. So they're burning coins to cover the error. That's not good for them either. I mean, it's good that they're burning what are potentially phony coins and they're getting rid of that, you know, inflation problem that comes from not knowing how many coins were injected in there. But it's bad for their model. It's bad for their team to have the kind of exposure where they have to admit publicly, yes, this screw up happened and we're trying to cover it by doing this. I mean, they're not just burning their own coins. At least Bitcoin Cash, they were the miners. They decided to start burning their own coins. You can always burn your own coins. That's somewhat legit. But with Bitcoin Private, they're telling people, you know, if you have your coins held this way, make sure to shift them because after the burn, they're going to be gone. You know, that's a fundamental change to the ecosystem. That punishes your holders. If somebody invested in Bitcoin Private, and I hope you have it, but if you invested in Bitcoin Private back when it was costing $100, $200 to buy a Z Classic before the fork, or if you bought it, you know, at $50, $70 before it plummeted down to where it is now, you could have put those coins away. You could be trying to wait it out, thinking maybe this project will succeed. Maybe you have faith in the people working on it. I mean, that's great for you. So you're holding, and now you're going to get punished because you didn't move your coins because you weren't following it month to month. I don't think that's the way to treat your community.
That's one. Yeah, there's pros and cons of these things. We will see how it all ends up because that's happening real soon. And what happens when a cryptocurrency gets rid of like half of its outstanding coins? I mean, we shall see what happens to the market cap and the valuation. This should be interesting. Okay, one final question. This is about the and again, I'm just pulling this one out there as I talked about it the other day, but I thought maybe you guys would have thoughts on this. Ed probably does. Binance coin. This Binance issued back in, I guess, over a year ago, their own ICO. Binance is an exchange, and they had an ICO for a coin that helped fund their business. And now it keeps going up. It keeps going up. People, and it was pointed out that, you know, this is an exchange that probably is not. They don't do KYC like the United States government would want them to, and that. This is a centralized token that could disappear at any moment. And it seems to me, I mean, again, personal responsibility is a new counterculture. You can buy whatever you want to buy. But this seems like something, it's a little, you know, Ed says this is the crypto winter. You know, people are looking for bright spots and people are like, oh, it's going up in value in terms of fiat. I don't know. I think this could get people into a bad situation eventually.
I have a question about that Binance stuff.
Yeah,
I heard from someone that Cosmos Network is coming out in another few weeks, and that Binance will be building a decentralized exchange on Cosmos. And I'm wondering how does that affect their token?
What I heard was when they first. Am I muted? No. Okay. So when they first put out the Binance coin years ago, that was done as an ERC20 on Ethereum. So they couldn't disappear then. But now they're standing up what they call, it's either Binance Coin Chain or Binance Chain. They're going to stand up their own blockchain. And I'm not sure what they're building it on, but their intent is to transfer Binance Coin into their blockchain and use their blockchain as the basis for their new decentralized exchange. So once they have their own chain, we'll have to see how much central control they have over that chain, because if they move their coin into their own chain and they have control over their chain, then it's exactly as Adam said, that they have it all and they could disappear at any time. But if they do the right things, and let's face it, Binance has been doing the right things on a technical basis. That's why they're such a wildly successful crypto exchange. Yet they've only been around for 2 years and they're one of the top exchanges. So they do a lot of things right. And the guys behind the Binance company, they were building crypto exchanges. They were building traditional financial exchange software before they started Binance. So they know what they're doing on the tech side. If they do it right and they make sure that there's enough decentralization to ensure the longevity of it, it might work out quite well. And of course, it's always good to see a decentralized exchange. And it's not purely decentralized. Anyone who looks at decentralized exchanges knows that nobody out there is doing a purely decentralized exchange that can handle any decent throughput. Binance is doing a hybrid thing, so it can have really quick throughput, but it's going to be effectively sort of a consortium of people controlling the chain, which is what allows it to travel go so quickly. So I have a lot of concerns. I want to see where they go with it, but development is always a good thing, and Binance is one of the better players out there. So I'm looking forward to what they do.
All righty, that's a good elaboration right there. I like that. I'd like to hear more about that. All right. Let's wrap this baby up. We're getting toward the end of the show. I want any of you guys, if you had any thoughts, any final thoughts, any stories that didn't get out there, please now. We'll start with Tawanda. Anything you wanted to say, any thoughts, any stories you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, just drew a blank there. So no last words from me, but I'm really excited to hear what the other guys have to say.
All right, dude. Well, I want to, from the bottom of my heart and from, I think, all the people watching this, stay strong over there. Good luck. Keep us updated. I'm so glad that we got to talk about Zimbabwe. And maybe this will be a topic for a Beyond Bitcoin show. Because remember, on Saturday, we go beyond Bitcoin and talk about all sorts of different things. We had a special Venezuela one. So maybe I'm going to keep following the Zimbabwe situation, and if it does not resolve, I think we, as spread the word, people. Spread the word that there's a situation over there. Just because Robert Mugabe is gone doesn't mean it's the end of the story. There's some stuff going down. So yeah, good luck. Hopefully, Golix will be back online. People of Zimbabwe, get yourself some Bitcoin. I will say that it is definitely insurance against such situations. If during such situations, if it gets really bad, you just take your Bitcoin with you and go to South Africa, where they're growing to like Bitcoin even more. All right, let's do Jeff. What are your final thoughts?
I tell you, having a little Bitcoin, having it put away, and being able to pack a backpack and take off as a plan B. It may not be for everyone. Sometimes, you have your family still and you need to stay close to home, but it is not a bad plan B instead of just, grabbing a gun and running into the woods with 10 ways to start a fire like half the preppers on YouTube, There's always a beach out there with a cold beer at a bar that'll take Bitcoin. In 3 years, from Guatemala, Ecuador, Peru, everywhere I've been, someone will take Bitcoin.
All right, dude. That was I'd love comparing it to the preppers. Yeah, this is a little bit more realistic than some of the situations they throw out there. How they would escape. You can escape pretty easily with some Bitcoin. Just pick up and go to the bar in the Caribbean. You're safe. That's better than living in the woods with a bunch of sticks and starting a fire like it's 1821. Now, speaking of beer. Do you happen to have a beer or a soda can with you so you can hold it in your hand so people can see? Someone in the chat.
It's 9:30 in the morning. I don't have my beer on me yet.
Someone in the chat actually brought it up and said something like that.
Well, you know, they're bigger than Trump's.
All right, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. All right, Ed. Oh, sorry. No. Continue, please, Jack.
No, I was going to say I can palm a basketball, but just barely, just enough. So.
All right. Ed, you got the last word here today, man.
All right, you're gonna have to cut me off if I go too long. We didn't get to mention in the U.S. in Fairfax County, Virginia, a public pension fund invested in crypto, in the crypto space. Now they're not investing by buying cryptocurrencies. They're not buying Bitcoin. They're investing through a venture capital fund, which is investing in blockchain technologies. But still, it's more of the traditional funds coming into the crypto space. It's sort of the beginning of the avalanche of investing in crypto technology, but also eventually more and more people will be looking for non-correlated exposure. That's going to mean crypto coins too. You know, the hedge funds are beginning. They're starting to have good custodial solutions, which they're required to have to do the kinds of things they do. Everything's in place to see more institutional investment, and that will trickle into the crypto coins eventually and bring up the prices. So that's a good thing. But that is still investment largely in the non-public, non-trustless, non-decentralized space. We have to take care of that. So we have to do things like run the full nodes. I run a Bitcoin full node, a Litecoin full node, a Bitcoin Gold full node. And I bring this up because I just want to remind people, participate in the coins you believe in. You can mine them. If you can't mine them, you can run nodes. If you don't run nodes, you could tell people about them. We do still have to get the word out about the stuff that's outside the institutional space to build the knowledge out there so that people know there are people who are sane. It's not just the insane people on Twitter doing this stuff. There are good, normal people that they know that are doing crypto. If they learn that, if they see that, they can accept the technology. JPMorgan's on the technology. They can accept the value proposition. Their friends and family invest in this stuff. That's how we build this up. That's how we keep this going. That's how we eventually build the new financial ecosystem.
Well, that was beautiful. That was a good way to end it. I wanted to say that, yeah, it is a good first step. You know, they're not buying directly into cryptocurrency, but they're buying into companies that deal with cryptocurrency. There's going to have to be a first step. Public pension funds, I mean, they're strictly, they don't do drastic, they wouldn't just jump into Bitcoin anyway. It's you know, into the kiddie pool and then into the big pool. And, you know, I think it's also for the citizens of Virginia who are 20%ers who actually aren't getting, you know, up in arms and obsessed with all the other crazy stories that are going on in Virginia right now. And that's for the Beyond Bitcoin show. But there's a lot of insanity going on in Virginia right now. And you can go have a crazy fit, get hysterical about that, or you can hear about a story like this about a pension fund. What is this crypto thing? Let me get into this instead of, you know, virtue signaling online about these 3 politicians or whatever. How about that for a take on all this? So people in Virginia, this is for the 20%ers, okay? Don't get distracted by all the noise out there in your state. This is a real story. You probably haven't even heard about this story. Welcome to crypto. Enter the Bitcoin overlay. Get away from the virtue signaling, social media. Oh, he did this in 1979 world. Okay, so there you go. That's my conclusion for today. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Thank you, guests, for being on the show. This show is on it every Friday. We do This Week in Bitcoin. Every day I do another show. Saturday is the Beyond Bitcoin show. You know the whole spiel. Pound that like button. Follow me at TechBalt, TECHBALT on Twitter. Someone sent me some Bitcoin recently. Thank you for that. There's all sorts of donation addresses. All affiliate links are below. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you again, guest. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. See you.
Thanks.